Hi, everybody. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Hope you're having a great day. Um, this is part of my organization series. So I don't really have much of an update for March. I don't know about you guys, but for some reason, the spring ends up being this huge. I end up being so busy in March. I get since end of February, the last weekend in February, I've had 4 crops, I think, and then one weekend away. So I haven't really had a lot of time to do much in my craft room. But today's April 1st, or tomorrow, actually, today's March 30th. So tomorrow's April 1st. And I wanted to get this video out. So I wanted to show you one of the things that I like to do. So I've been kind of working on this afternoon because I did have some time today because we did our Easter celebration yesterday with family. So um, I did have some time today to come down and start getting some work done. So I wanted to show you how I like to swatch and keep my inks because I have many different kinds of inks. And one of the first things, the best thing to do is to always check and swatch out your inks so you know what you have and what you're dealing with. So I have this binder. It's just a cheapo dollar store binder, and I have it labeled here. I'm sure you can see that color. Sorry, let's try and get them in color charts. Okay. So at the front here, this is where I store my, I have this stamp pad that is solid. So it's a solid, it's actually meant for sentiments, but I use it for swatching out my ink because it gives me a really solid impression of the color. It also shows me really well how that ink is going to stamp down as well. Because I don't use these inks. Many of them have different uses. So, I want to know which ones are the best. So this, and then, so this is just like a piece of, what is this? This is these things here. Just a minute. The collector, like ballpark, kids baseball cards or hockey cards or something like that, the protector sheets. I just got them from the dollar store. Excuse me. But what I've done is I've pre-cut, this is 80-pound cardstock, which is what I like to stamp and ink blend on. So I've got some ready to go here, and then I take this off of my block. This is my little stamp, and then it gets stored in the front pocket here. I have the little protectors, the little pieces of acetate so that they slide in and out. So I'm prepped and I'm ready to go kind of first page. Then what I have done is I have labeled them by different inks. So these are my VersaFine, sorry, not my VersaFine, these are my Elements by Lavinia Stamps. So I now have a complete set. They just released, just last fall, they released 4 new colors. The Emperor Red, green sleeves, blue atoll, and then this dark denim. And I'll show you what I'm going to do with that one. So, but why it's really important to swatch out your colors. So for example, this is the top of the Emperor Red. Now that's a pretty decent match, but you might not be sure. It also allows me to look at how good the coverage is here. Pretty solid. But if I was going to be stamping a sentiment or something like that, or a silhouette, I would want to make sure that I was using a stamping platform, right? So that one's pretty close to that. But if you look down here at the green sleeves, this is the color of the outside of my ink pad. Now it looks a little bit more like this one, the Lime Punch, than the green sleeves. So this has a lot more yellow in it than I would assume based on what the outside of my ink pad looks like. Okay, and then the other new color here is the Blue Atoll, which you can't see because that's off screen. So let's bump it in here. So this is the Blue Atoll. And if I bring this over, that's not the color I would have assumed was in there. That's kind of the center, not this outside color here. So it's always a good idea to swatch out your ink so that you know exactly what you're dealing with. And then the other thing that I like to do is I take my, this is just a Simple Brother P-Touch label maker, and then I put the name on the edges of all of my ink pads because I like to store them in, I have slotted, like I like them flat, and then I have some storage towers that's where my inks go. So I'm going to show you what I do. Then the other thing that I have, so at the very end of each section here, I have the listing of all of the colors that I have. So these are all of the Elements by Lavinia that I had. And then I've just handwritten in the 4 that I've just added to the collection. I got these for Christmas, I think, most of them. Okay. But the other thing that I like to do is I like to have who they're by, what kind of ink it is. So for example, it says dye-based and what is it good for? So this is really good for using for gel press and for watercoloring. These are excellent. They're excellent for blending, using through stencils, those kind of things. But I know that it's a dye-based and it was created mostly for using for gel press. Okay, so that's number 1. So I'm going to put this to the side here for a minute, and I'm just going to show you the process of what I like to do. So what I have done is I have taken my 80-pound cardstock, just whatever I like to usually blend on. I've handwritten, that's fun. Brushes just fell over here, that's strange. I've handwritten Lavinia Elements dark denim. So I have who it is, what the brand is, whatever, and then the color. So that's what I've done in there. Okay, I'm just going to put this to the side here. So I'm going to open this up and I'm going to stamp it down. Okay, so I'm going to ink up my stamp. And you can see that the Lavinia pads are quite sticky. Their ink is very well saturated. So I'm going to turn that over and you can see, like, look at on the white, you can see how well that is covering the stamp. But because it's water-based, you can still see that it's pooling, right? Because it's water. So it's beading up on the stamp, which is to be anticipated. It's dye-based, so which means it's water-based. So then I'm going to come in and I'm just going to stamp down this image. Give it a good press, give it a minute for the ink to absorb from the stamp onto my paper so that I get a pretty decent crisp image. Okay, and then I'm going to pick it up and I'm going to wipe off my stamp. To the side here. And I get this beautiful, deep kind of navy blue color, right? Really pretty color. Okay, so I'm going to put that back on. Okay. And while I've got it here, so before I put my ink pad, I'm going to leave this over here to the side to dry just a little bit. And I'm going to pull out my label. So as I'll show you when I do the next one, I had to trim this down a bit because most label makers are a little too wide to go on the edges. But you're going to go in here and you fold it in half because the labels always are, you can usually peel one half and then the other side. So, and I think that that's so that you can actually put it on without having to lift it, like get it in perfect positioning. But I'm not super picky about that. But I just pull it off here, put it on the edge, and there we go. So dark denim. And then these will stack and I will put them back in my, so they're great for when I'm traveling because I can have them like this and I can see them. And as I have them on my desk in a stack like here, I can see, oh, my green sleeves is the second one down and I can lift that off if I need to. Also, I've shown you guys in previous videos where I store my inks. So I like to have sides so that I can at least see the colors. Okay. And then what I will do is I've already moved these around because I like to keep them in rainbow order, right? So I've got Rouge de Bin and then my browns and the graphite color. So for this, I'm just going to stick this in here and I have to do it from the back. Okay. There we go. So now I have all of the colors from the Lavinia. So I've completed my collection for now until they release some more colors. But we'll do that. Now with my distress inks and my distress oxides, I do handle them a little bit different. So so I'll just show you the difference. So if you notice, look at the graphite here, and you can see a lot of the white coming through. So again, this is a dye-based ink, so it beads up and the water beads up on my stamp. Okay. Now here's my VersaFine Clair. Look at how saturated that color is. Like there's very little white showing through. That's the difference because this is a pigment-based ink. So you get nice fine coverage. So these are my VersaFine Clairs. These are all of the colors that I have. I have the entire collection of the VersaFine Clair. But I did hear that they are getting ready to release some more colors, kind of in more pastel-ish colors, so lighter colors. So that should be very nice because as you can see, most of the colors of the VersaFine Like even the yellow, although it's a pastel, it's a deep tone. So what they're looking at is more of the lighter tone coming out, lighter punches, pinks, blues, those kind of things. And then I also have some VersaFine Clair pigment ink for use with water and silhouette stamps. So that's if I'm wanting to watercolor, right? Because I don't want to use a water-based one to stamp with because it'll smudge my outline and things like that. And then all of my colors by name and then what they are. So for example, a paradise color is a light blue. The Fantasia is a deep purple. Pine cone is a mid brown. Acorn is a light brown. I also like to mark on here if I have the re-inker or not. So I currently have a re-inker for Warm Breeze, and for Nocturne and for Twilight. So for those three, I have the re-inker. So obviously those are things that I have to invest in, but I haven't had to yet. And most of these colors I've just, well, actually some of them are still like super saturated. Okay, so this is now for my distress inks. And when I went through and did the distress inks, so this is something that you can print off of the rangerink.com. This is the listing of the distress ink colors. And then there's one for distress oxides. Okay, and so what I've done is I've gone through and I've checked off, okay, or squared off or crossed off all of the ones that I have. And then I also like to write in here whether I have the mini cube. So I have the mini and the regular. In Rusty Hinge, for example, I only have the regular, or sorry, the mini cube. In the Fired Brick, I only have the mini cube. All of these ones that don't have it written, then that means I just have the regular larger 2x2 size, like this size here, right? If it says mini and regular, then that means I have the regular one plus a mini. So I have the little 1-inch ones versus the 2-inch one. Okay. And then here, so I'm going to have to check because I'm sure that the newest, so these were all out. The last update or the last time I printed this off was before saltwater taffy came out because I had to handwrite those ones in. And then, so there's three others, Lost Shadow, Lumberjack Plaid, and Scorched Timber. Those are all new that have come in since this was redone. So I have to check and see. On the on the Ranger Ink website, you can also print off a sheet of all of the colors. And I'm not sure how true to color they are. Sponge Sugar, Warm Lipsticks, like these are all the ones that I don't have in the bigger cubes because I cut these out. These are like little labels that says like speckled egg, faded jeans, milled lavender, etc. That I have that you can actually cut out and then put on the sides of your cubes if you like. And I have done that on the ones that I have with the larger cubes. So now what I do when I'm doing the distress ink and the distress oxide, because for most of those ones, I use them for blending. So what I've done is I have stamped them. Okay, so I have distressed ink, scattered straw, but I only have this one in the mini cube. This one, for example, in the picked raspberry, I only have it in the large one. Okay, let's see if I can find one that I have in the mini cube. I wonder if I have any of them marked in there. Yeah, so if I have it on here, so these ones mean I only have it in the mini cube. This one means I either have it in just the big one or I have it in the big and the little one. So I didn't get to marking them as I have both. But what I like to do is I like to do the solid stamp and then I come in with my blending brushes and blend it because oftentimes the colors don't necessarily match what is like when you've got the full color saturated stamp compared to when ink blended. So, and the other thing too, again, another good reason for doing ink blending. This is the distressed plaid, or sorry, the lumberjack plaid. This is what it actually looks like when I stamp it out and when I blend it. So it's pretty close. It's not too bad. But okay, couple others here. So I'm going to show you again, and then again. So I have distress ink, dye-based, and it's water reactive. So that's what I would use this for. So I have a listing of all of the colors that I have. And I think on here, yeah, this side, I have a listing of all of the mini cubes that I have. Okay, so I'm going to put this to the side and show you now then what I do for my for my distressed oxides or distressed inks. So this one's a new one. I won this at the Connect Crop that I was at. It's the prize that I chose. So this is the newest Tim Holtz color of distressed ink. So, and this is the Scorched Timber. So again, I'm going to take this and I'm going to ink up. And I'm trying to get a fairly decent coverage, but distressed inks and distressed oxides, so you can see it sort of beading up. I don't know if you can, if I can get that close enough. So again, it is a water-based, has a different formulation, but it is water-based. You can see it doesn't look like there's a lot of color on there. This is one of the reasons why I'm not a fan of using distressed ink or distressed oxides or stamping. Like you can use them for watercoloring and things like that, but to actually do like a sentiment or an outline or something like that, you're not going to get the greatest of coverage. So if you're using distress inks or distress oxides, please make sure that you're using a stamping platform because you're likely going to have to stamp it a few times. Okay, because even here, like if you're looking, you look at how much white just you can see through even just using the ink. Okay, so I'll give that a light down my stand. Okay, so that's a really nice deep brown color. Look at that. But you can see that's what happens because it is a water-based. So this one is dye-based. The distress oxide has a bit of pigment to it. So it sits on top of your paper. Distress inks soak into your paper, but they are still water reactive. So now what I want to do is I'm going to take a little bit, I'm going to load up my brush, okay, and I'm going to blend from the bottom. And I want to have a lot of saturation at the bottom, and then I bring it up to kind of give myself a nicely blended look. This gives me an idea of what this will react like on my paper when I go to use it. I want to have that idea, right? Then when I go to look back at my swatches and stuff, I'm not necessarily surprised. I might still be surprised, but you know, but it gives me the idea of what kind of color am I looking at. So if I had just stamped this, look at how dark that looks. I'm not necessarily getting a clear understanding of what that color is going to look like versus when I blended it, I get this really nice brown wood tone, and then like I see a lot of yellow versus maybe a grayish black brown, right? So this has definitely a lot of green, olivish, yellow undertone to it. Okay. Show you that there. Okay. Then what I like to do, so again, as I said, so this is how my label comes out. If I were to put that on here, it's just that little bit too high, and then it kind of catches on everything. So I like to take my little trimmers, a little set of scissors here, and I just go along. I don't expect this to be perfect. I don't need it to be straight. I just want to take a little bit off of each side. This way then it will fit a little bit better on the edge of my ink pad without catching all the time, because that's the challenge. I used when I was doing the previously when I was doing the colored labels, it was a big challenge because I just used tape and it's a little too thick. I didn't trim them enough and they catch all the time. So, and I haven't gotten around to changing that yet. So technically what I could do is just peel one half, stick it on, and then peel the other half, but it's pretty easy to hold this edge. If this was longer and I was trying to go all the way around, I would likely just do half and then try and peel it. Okay, so I'm just gonna go and whoop, do a little carried away there, holding on to my. Okay, so I just put it on the longer edge and then I kind of burnish it into place just with my finger. It doesn't have to be anything fancified, but again, now I can stack these. So even though I don't necessarily have the color on there, okay, if I'm looking at these, so for example, okay, so anything in gray means it's an oxide. Okay, so if you look like that, so those are the oxides. The ones with the black containers means that they're an ink. So I don't bother to put oxide on here, or sorry, oxide on here or ink on here. I just want the color. Okay, so if I'm looking at the name Scorched Timber, so if I'm thinking, oh, scorch, Okay, so it's going to be burning and it's a wood. So I'm going to assume that that's going to be like a darker brown color is kind of how I would think about that. Lumberjack plaid. Well, I want to think about a buffalo plaid. That's going to be like red, right? So if I look at that, oh yeah, it's red. I don't necessarily have to have the color on the side of here. Lost shadow. Okay, well, if they're talking about a shadow, I'm going to assume it's some sort of a gray. So if I want to go in, there we go. It's a gray color. Okay, so if you don't end up uh, using the color labels, like, for example, pull this one out here. Okay. So this is one of them, vintage photo on one of my distress oxides here. And as you can see, this is where I taped it, and it is a little too long. So I always have to pull that down when I'm using it. But vintage photo. So I'm thinking, oh, vintage. So that's kind of going to be a sepia tone. So I don't have to have this on there. And if I were to look at it, oh, yeah, kind of a sepia, like older photo, not necessarily black and white, but it's, that aged look, right? So I can kind of puzzle out. Squeeze lemonade, for example. Okay, well, I'm assuming if it's a lemonade tone, it's likely going to be some sort of a yellow. Twisted citron, which is another Tim Holtz color, I would assume is going to be a citrus color. So that means like a lime color, a lemon color, maybe a grapefruit, maybe an orange. But I could pull that out, and as I get more familiar with the line, it's like, ooh, this is a really bright lime green. That's what it is, and you start to learn those. Okay. But in the meantime, if I'm thinking about, ooh, what would a scorched timber be? Yeah, likely it's going to be, likely it's going to end up being like a burnt, like a wood color. So brown is where I'm going to go with that. And then, so if I'm looking for a brown color, okay, I can pull out my scorched timber. I can pull out my vintage photo. I can pull out my ground espresso. Espresso is going to be like a coffee color. So I'm going to assume that's going to be a dark brown. That's how I work with them. Okay. And then from there, I can choose which ones I like. So for this one, because it's not labeled, I actually, when I went through this, I left spaces to add in more of the collection of the already existing distress inks. I did that for the inks. I did not, however, do this for my oxides. I don't know why, because I actually think this is quite clever rather than having to go through and switch them all up or add them into different areas. So basically my distress oxides, I've done the same thing. I have the listing of what I've got, what I want to do. So a permanent distress oxides is a pigment dye-based hybrid that is water reactive and is excellent for blending. Okay. So, and again, so I've done the stamp, and then I've also color blended on them just to see the differences. So this is the Lost Shadow. Okay. Also on the Tim Holtz line, you can also, on the rangerinc.com, you can get these, which also fit on your re-inker bottles. So you kind of punch that out. One goes on the top of the bottle, and then one goes on the, I don't have any re-inkers here with me, but so one would sit, the inner part would sit like on a hole punch, would sit right on this edge. And then this peeled paint, you can see this sticker, the outer circle actually sits right here. Okay. It's kind of handy, actually. It's pretty good system. Tri-blend chart. So these are my Spectrum Noir tri-blend alcohol markers. So I have the entire collection, and oh, I missed some in. I got to get in there and do those. But you have the three different colors so that I know what happens when I go to use those colors, which ones are which, because they never, they very rarely, the pens or the little ends don't necessarily give me a true representation of what the colors are going to look like. These are all of the miscellaneous inks that I have. Okay. I haven't swatched out my color bursts or my brushes yet. So those are new, still to be done. This is where I have my Nouveau drops. So these are all of the names. And then I've also done a little drop of each one of the colors of what I've got right next to it. So it tells me which ones I'm missing, which ones I have doubles of, because, doubles happen. Okay. Even including, so they didn't have a color chart for the stone drops, but I did make sure that I put them out because I want to be able to see what they look like. These are my newest ones. I got these for Christmas, and these are Arteza or Arteza real brush pens. And so they're like a marker, but they actually have watercolor in them. So, and yeah, I have to use them on watercolor paper, but what I was able to do, so this is the true color right out of the pen. And then as I washed it down with the water brush marker, I could draw that pigment out. So it looks like I can do watercoloring and stuff. And these colors are just gorgeous. I was having such a good time doing that last night. So that is what I'm working on. I have one more that I need to do, and that is my new set of art markers, which are a new set of alcohol markers that I got. And there's there's a 300 here, I think, something to that extent. But basically, these I have to swatch out as well so that I can figure out which colors go together. And yeah, I'm looking forward to that. But I have a color chart that I'll be buying from a friend, not from a friend, but from a woman that I follow, Mary Polanco. She's done all of the color combinations to figure out which colors go together, like what is your first color, second color, third color to get your beautiful blends, things like that. And she has a chart that she sells on Etsy. So that's what I'm going to be working on. So that is so far my project for March. No, yes, March, because we're now at the end of March. So for April, like I said, I'm going to have more time this weekend, this month. I'm quite excited about it. I have very few plans this month, so I'm looking forward to tackling some more of the clear out. I did get all my Christmas stuff down, so all of my totes are in and away, so that's pretty exciting as well. But anyway, that's it for me for the month on the organization, cleaning and organization. Organizing challenge. I don't know why that was so difficult to say. Anyway, that's going to be it for today. Again, share with me how you're coming along. I hope everything's starting to look great. Starting to feel like you're finding your products and things that you're either going to use or you want to clear out because maybe you don't need it or not. Actually, yeah, or passing it along to somebody else who will use your supplies and enjoy it, or just finding the things that you love and being reintroduced to the things that you love. I found some really beautiful paper last month, and it's really actually gotten me excited about scrapbooking again. It's been many a year, probably 7 years since I've actually scrapbooked. I've made a few folios and things like that, but to actually put together a scrapbook and things like that, it's been a minute, and so I'm looking forward to that. So share your journey with me in the comments. Hope you enjoyed it a little longer, but yeah, we'll talk to you soon, and I'll catch you at the end of April for the next update. Thanks so much, guys. Bye bye.